The historical development of special and inclusive education has been influenced by many factors. It continues to evolve as the society, educational philosophies, and laws change. After so many years, our society became more understanding and accepting of people's differences. They have come up with different educational philosophies on how they will be able to effectively teach children, and this influenced the development of special and inclusive education. So, the history of special and inclusive education is a journey from exclusion to inclusion. This will be further explained by the next reporters.
Throughout ancient and medieval times, societal attitudes towards those with disabilities were often shaped by cultural beliefs. In ancient civilizations like Greece and Rome, limited provisions were made for those with disabilities, and they were often marginalized due to a lack of understanding towards their condition. Societal perceptions frequently stigmatized them, viewing disabilities as a mark of divine punishment or personal failure. During the medieval period, people with disabilities were often associated with supernatural beliefs. Their conditions were attributed to curses, possession by evil spirits, or divine punishment, further isolating them from mainstream society. Additionally, the medieval social structure placed a heavy emphasis on productivity and contribution to the community, leading to individuals with disabilities being viewed as burdens rather than valued members. The marginalization and exclusion of individuals with disabilities during ancient and medieval times were mainly due to a lack of understanding, societal attitudes, and practical considerations. It wasn't until much later that strides were made towards recognizing their right and integrating them into society.
Ancient and medieval period. Historically, individuals with disabilities were often marginalized or excluded with mainstream societies. Ancient civilizations like Greece and Rome had limited provisions with individuals with disabilities. Societal perception often stigmatized them. During the medieval period, people with disabilities were often associated with supernatural beliefs or viewed as a burden to society.
The Renaissance, spanning from the 14th to the 17th century, marked a resurgence of learning and cultural advancement across Europe. While formal systems of special education were absent, this period emphasized human potential and individualism, setting the stage for inclusive education. Humanist thinkers such as Petrarch and Erasmus championed the pursuit of knowledge and critical thinking. It is contributing to a broader cultural shift towards valuing education for personal and societal growth. In the Enlightenment era that followed, thinkers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques further emphasized reasons and equality. Locke's ideas on education advocated for tailored instruction based on individual needs, laying the groundwork for personalized learning approach including those for students with disabilities. And Rosius emphasized on the natural development of children and the importance of education in shaping their character influence. The trajectory towards inclusive educational philosophies. And while formalized special education systems were not yet established, pioneering individuals like Jean-Marc Gaspard, Itard, and Maria Montessori made significant contributions during this time. Itard's work with deaf and intellectually disabled children highlighted the need for individualized instruction, while Montessori's innovative approach emphasized hands-on learning and respect for each child's abilities. These early efforts laid the foundation for future developments in inclusive education, recognizing the value of accommodating diverse learners and promoting educational equality.
The Renaissance brought about a change in the mindset that focused on humanism and the value of individualism. However, these concepts did not immediately lead to inclusive treatment for people with disabilities. The Enlightenment era set the stage for more rational and humanitarian perspective, but it took time for these ideas to influence the educational system.
The 19th century saw the greatest segregation of disability people. The workforce had to be more physically uniform to perform routine factory operation. Disability people were rejected. They were viewed as worthy poor opposed to work shy and unworthy poor and given poor low relief and placed in the workshop or many public foods. Disabled people became more and more dependent on the medical profession of cure treatments and benefits. Disabled boy in an early Barnardo's home. In the last part of the 19th century, a growing number of scientists, writers, and politicians begin to interpret Darwin territories of evolution and natural selecting for their own ends. They believed that they could improve the quality of being human raised by selected breeding, particularly those born with one congenital condition, would weaken the gene pool of the nation and reduce competitiveness.
Good day, each and everyone. My name is Joanna Fenabong, a BE Ed 1A student, and I am here to discuss about the historical basis of special and inclusive education in the early 20th century. The early 20th century witnessed a eugenics movement that advocated for selective breeding to eliminate disabilities contributing to discriminatory practices. Eugenics is the scientifically immoral theory of racial improvement and planned breeding, which gained popularity during the early 20th century. Eugenicists worldwide believe that they could perfect human beings and eliminate so-called social ills through genetics and heredity. They believe that use of methods such as involuntary sterilization, segregation, and social exclusion would rid society of individuals deemed by them to be unfit. Now, let's proceed to another part of early 20th century. The work of Maria Montessori and others emphasized individualized instruction and recognized the diversity of learning needs, laying the groundwork for more inclusive education approaches. Montessori theory is an educational approach that emphasizes individualized instruction and self-paced learning. It is based on the belief that children are naturally curious and capable of learning independently. Maria Montessori developed the Montessori method. She believed that education should be tailored to each child's unique needs and interests, an approach that has been shown to promote children's academic success and social emotional development. The Montessori theory is now used in schools worldwide, and its popularity is growing as parents seek alternative educational options for their children. Montessori education recognized that children develop at different rates and strives to meet each child where they are. Classrooms are designed to allow children of different ages to interact and learn from one another. Maria Montessori education tends to be more flexible and responsive to the needs of each child. So, who was Maria Montessori? Dr. Maria Tecla Artemisia Montessori or Maria Montessori was an Italian educator and physician who developed the Montessori method of education based on her observations of children's natural learning abilities. Maria Montessori was born in 1870 in Chiaraval, Italy. She studied medicine at the University of Rome and became the first woman to graduate with a medical doctorate. She began to study child development and education. It surprised her when she observed that children's behavior exceed her expectation in specific environments where their developmental needs were nurtured. Motivated by her findings, she opened her first Montessori school in 1907. And over the next few years, she continued to develop her educational methods. Montessori education gained popularity in the 1920s, and by the end of her life, Maria Montessori has established schools on 6 continents. Maria Montessori work profoundly impacted education, and she is considered one of the most influential educators of all time. She was also nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for the 3 consecutive years. Maria Montessori discovered that love enables and empowers children. She wrote, "Love fills the child's consciousness and affects his self-realization." It tells us that when young children feel love from parents and caregivers and witness love between others that are close to them, they develop kindness, respect, and dignity. And it is an easy way to help children understand and feel love is to see it being shared with others. That's why love is considered teaching. Love is teaching. As parents and caregivers, we can model for our children what love looks like in small everyday action. And that's the end of our discussion. Thank you for listening.
In America's earliest days, children born with disabilities were considered a source of shame and guilt among their families, often stashed away in institutions. As described by the Anti-Defamation League in the year 2005, the stigmatization of disability resulted in the social and economic marginalization of generations of Americans with disabilities, and just like many other oppressed minorities, left people with disabilities in a severe state of impoverishment for centuries. In the year 1800, people with disabilities were considered meager, tragic, pitiful individuals unfit to contribute to society except to serve as ridiculed objects of entertainment in circuses and exhibitions. Fortunately, during the post-World War II, awareness and advocacy for the rights of every individuals had increased. In the mid-20th century, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the year 1948 paved the way for inclusive education to become as a basic human rights, allowing everyone to be treated fairly, particularly when it comes to education. In the latter half of 20th century, education underwent a profound transformation na kung saan nagkaroon ng malalim na pagbabago sa edukasyon na nakatatak sa pag-angat ng inclusive practices. This report looks at the important laws and worldwide efforts that made education included everyone during the 1970s and 1980s. Let's start from legislative milestone. The Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, a landmark legislation in the United States, mandated free and appropriate education for children with disabilities. This paved the way for the Individuals with Disability Education Act or IDEA in 1990, which further enforced the right of students with disability to receive a quality education tailored to their needs. Beyond the borders of the United States, a global movement toward inclusion established. Countries around the world embrace policies aimed at integrating students with disabilities into mainstream schools, fostering environments of diversity and acceptance.
The change to inclusive education made a big difference in making education fair for everyone and in how society saw people with disabilities. When school gave the same chances to all students, they become more like the neighborhoods they were in, where different kinds of people live. This helps students understand each other better and be more caring towards one another. Therefore, the late 20th century witnessed a paradigm shift toward inclusive education, driven by legislative reforms and global advocacy efforts. As we continue to strive for educational equity, it is essential to uphold the principle of inclusivity, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to learn and thrive in the supportive environment.
21st Century, the Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities (CRPD) in 2006, adopted by United Nations, further emphasized the rights and the inclusion of individuals with disabilities in all aspects of life, including education. Advances in technology and a better understanding of diverse learning needs have facilitated more inclusive practices in education. In this century, the 21st century, the conventions on the rights of persons with disability or yung CRPD is mas in-emphasize na nila yung rights ng persons with disabilities taong 2006. Lahat ng individuals with disabilities ay may rights na in all aspects of life, including the educations. In this century, mas advanced na yung technology and a better understandings of diverse learning. Um, for the world diverse, magkakaiba na yan. Pero napapacilitate more inclusive practices in education.
Hello everyone! My name is Archel Domingo at narito po ako ngayon para ipaliwanag sa inyo kung ano nga ba ang historical sa challenges and ongoing effort. So ngayon, sa pagkakaintindi ko, ang historical basis of special education and exclusive education ay mababasa doon na ang mga may kapansanan ay binibigyan ng karapatang pagtingin, karapatang pantay, na bigyan sila ng pang-edukasyon, binibigyan sila ng magandang oportunidad na makapag-aral sila at kahit pa paano ay magkaroon sila ng kaalaman sa mundo. Nabasa ko rin na ang mga special at mayroong kapansanan ay binibigyan nila ng karapatan at pantay na pagtingin sa lipunan. So, kagaya ng iba na may kapansanan, talagang binibigyan nila ng pansin dahil dito nakikita nila na pwede naman palang makapag-aral ng isang mayroong kapansanan. Hindi naman porket may kapansanan ng isang tao ay hindi na pwedeng bigyan ng pantay na pagtingin sa lipunan. So, palagi po nating isipin na tao din sila at meron din silang kakayahan na hindi natin kayang gawin. Kahit na ganun po ang kanilang kapansanan, kahit ganun po ang kanilang meron sa kanilang sarili, kahit pa paano, meron pa rin silang talento na tinatago. At iyon ang mas nakakabilib sa kanila dahil kahit ganun pa man ang kanilang sarili, ay talagang naipapakita nila sa lipunan na hindi lang sila basta may disability, kundi meron din silang kagaya natin na may talento. So, kahit ano man po ang kanilang kapansanan, binibigyan pa rin sila ng gobyerno ng pang-edukasyong lipunan. So, nakikita naman din natin sa Pilipinas na marami ding mga mayroong disabilities, may mga kapansanan, may mga hindi makapagsalita at hindi makapagsulat ng maayos, pero nakakapagsalita naman sila. Meron namang iba ay talagang masyadong malala. Kaya nakakatulong din sa kanila na magkaroon sila ng edukasyon sa sarili nila para malaman nila kung ano nga ba ang meron sa kanilang sarili. So, hindi naman, pinapakita din naman dito na ah, ang edukasyon ay hindi lang para sa mga normal student, kundi sa may mga ah, katulad ng iba na mayroong disabilities. Kagaya ko, wala akong disabilities, pero sa tingin ko ay pwede rin naman bigyan ng karapatang bigyan ng kalayaan ang mga merong disabilities kasi nga hindi naman natin pwedeng ipagkait sa kanila yun dahil tao lang din naman tayo at kailangan din natin sila bigyan ng pantay na karapatan. So, ayun yung nakikita ko at nabasa ko sa historical special basis and education and inclusive education. So, talagang doon natin makikita na hindi lang pala talaga tayo lang dapat ang nakikinabang sa edukasyon, kundi pati rin yung mga taong merong kapansanan. At doon natin din nakikita na nagiging proud tayo sa kanila kasi meron silang kakayahan na ginagawa rin nila tulad ng atin. Na kahit ganun man ang meron sa kanilang sarili, ay talagang nabibigyan sila ng talento. At yun ang aking pagkakaintindi at yun ang aking pagkakabasa sa historical ng special basic education and inclusive education. So, ayun naman po. Sana po ay natindihan po natin ang aking pinag-iwan.
So, hi, today we're going to explore the world of special education, where every child, regardless of their abilities, has the right to reach their full potential. So now I'm going to explain it why. So, the intricacies of creating inclusive classroom, overcoming challenges, and celebrating transformative power of education. I could say that challenges remain, including the need for continued advocacy, resource allocation, and professional development for educators. So, the ongoing evolution of educational practices involves addressing not only physical accessibility but also ensuring the instructional methods accommodate diverse learning styles. So, the primary goal of these topics are we need to educate those students, and that students are the one who have a disabilities, and in order for us to educate them, we need to educate students who have disabilities in the regular classroom, and that is one of the number one challenges that they're facing right now. So we need to allow those children to receive a free and appropriate education along with general education students in the regular classroom. So, the primary goal of these topics are we need to determine the needs of the children or those students who have disabilities. And for me as a student, they can't learn if they are not in the regular classroom because they aren't the same as others who are independently teaching themselves, because those special children needs the guide in order for them to learn and to meet their new learning styles.